Hey everyone, it's Terrence Branley, and welcome back to the Grow IT podcast. And today I have the real pleasure of having Brian Jackson on the show. He is the founder, president, and chief operating officer for Abacus Technologies. And Abacus is specializes, if I can say it correctly, in cybersecurity, managed IT services, business intelligence solutions. But Brian is just one of those guys that I love talking with. He has great leadership ability, and I've looked forward to talking with you. I've told you that, Brian, and I want to welcome you to the Grow IT podcast.
Thank you, Terrence. Very happy to be here. Definitely enjoyed our conversations up to this point. Looking forward to what we're doing today.
Yeah, let's go after it. So tell us about your background. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey as well.
Yeah, sure. I started at Auburn University in engineering, pre-engineering. Found out that I was not going to be a great engineer. Ended up in the accounting field. So actually pursued accounting. Actually got a graduate degree in accounting. Thought I was going to be a CPA. And then really turned over to my passion with technology. As I started into the workforce, I found out didn't want to do audit, didn't want to do tax. So I really started down a journey of looking at technology because always had a passion for technology. Got my first computer, a little TI-88 that you hook up to the back of the TV, and sort of was uh, hooked at that point as far as learning programming and basic programming things for that. So I really found my way into technology through a lot of database and business intelligence. So really a lot of database work, systems integrations. I did find myself doing accounting at some point, but still had a lot of technology flavor to it, and then eventually was able to get over at Abacus doing business intelligence and accounting software consulting. So
Hmm.
that is really where I entered into the technology field. Really enjoyed that. Got to get certified in some of the Sage products, Microsoft Business Dynamics. Also learned to install servers and do training. So it was really I think impactful time in my career as I just got to get out into the field and really interact with clients and really help them out, help them solve problems around the accounting world. And then eventually I did move on from Abacus at that time. Moved on to another local firm, development firm. Went from, I guess, selling, training, and implementing accounting software to designing it. So I got to learn the process of the agile methodology for development. Became a Scrum master. Became a Scrum product owner. Led a dev team for a while. Got to travel to Hong Kong, out of country, to do some work with a YMCA client over there. Then eventually found my way to what was really my first leadership position in IT from a corporate perspective as a director of IT for a local oil and gas company. So there for about 2 years, and the founders over at Abacus called me back and said, "Hey, we want you to come back and help run the company and make it successful." So that's how I found my way back to Abacus in 2014. I've been there for this will be going on my 10th year this next
Wow.
year. So it's been a quite a journey in my career, but ultimately left Abacus a long time ago, but felt like there was some unfinished business, and finally got to come back in this role and lead it successfully, build a team, and get it to where it is now.
So now that you're there, at Abacus, what do you consider to be your core offering? What are the things that you guys are really good at?
Yeah, I mean, our core business is really built around, the managed service or managed IT services. So we have really grown that practice and continued to grow it. And really that is the same core service you probably hear, for most all MSPs. We do backup, we do monitoring, we do help desk. But what I really see the future of Abacus really is not just so much in just managed IT. In fact, we really I've started branding ourselves as a technology solutions provider because we do so much more than just managed IT services. We do, when you look at what we're doing with cybersecurity and risk advisory services, we're about to embark on a journey to start doing SOC 1 and SOC 2s for companies through our risk advisory services, which also includes cybersecurity. So we're doing some, I would say, some managed security services, but we've been doing a lot of assessments and helping companies really strengthen their cybersecurity posture and helping them get solutions in place to help them protect themselves against bad guys. And some of those are solutions we provide from an ongoing service perspective, but also some are just helping them just take the stuff they have and make it better, just improve their configurations, improve their policies, their procedures. So cybersecurity has been a huge growth area for us, but also business intelligence has been another growth area. So we've got a great team that is really focused on systems integration, providing data to clients so they can really run their business. From when we all start out in the business world and we're founding the company, we got that entrepreneurial mindset. Usually we're in that place because we have expertise, and that expert management gets us so far. But at some point, as you grow, you got to become data driven, and that's where our business intelligence team comes into play. And so we've been working closely in the CPA firm niche,
Yeah, that's what I
launching a
was going to ask
product
you.
and service there for them and helping them become more data driven. But also we've had a lot of success with manufacturing companies, municipalities, helping them find ways to use their data to grow their companies.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. I assumed that, obviously that when you had talked about coming to Abacus in the beginning, and it being through the, accounting, portal, let's call it, into technology,
Yeah,
that I would guess it's still a core part of your business in terms of CPAs and folks in the accounting industry. But it sounds like
absolutely.
you've even grown, beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Abacus is wholly owned by BMSS, which is a leading regional accounting firm, probably a top 100 firm overall, CPA firm, headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama. They have offices in Huntsville, Gadsden, and this now in Ridgeland, Mississippi. So they're a growing firm, spreading their wings throughout, and we've been able to work with them, and they've been able to help us get really involved in the CPA world, and BI is the way we've been able to do that. Last year, we launched a new platform at the BDO National Conference in Las Vegas. So BDO is one of the largest accounting firms in the world. Really, they're a worldwide firm, but they have an alliance of a bunch of smaller firms, at least smaller than them, that allow us to trade resources, to collaborate. And so through that portal, we've been able to reach a lot of accounting firms around the nation, anywhere from we're working firms in New York, working firms in Oregon, Texas, local here in the Southeast to help make business intelligence part of their overall strategic effort to help grow their firms.
So talk about that a little, the business intelligence side of it. Like, what is that? What does that entail? What does that mean? And why is it impactful to businesses and to clients?
Yeah, well, it encompasses really a couple different areas. One is you have to have good data governance. So we're helping clients, look at their data, determine, making sure they're capturing good data and their systems are set up to provide them good data for on reports. A second piece is also data governance and quality. It's not just that they're capturing good data, but also they have good processes that produce good data. For example, in the CPA world, business intelligence is really driven by one single thing, and a lot of times it's the hour. All CPAs, even all professional services firm, they look at the hour, and we look at hours are perishable. I can't bill the 8 hours from yesterday today. So their shelf life is very small. And also, when you look at how they bill per hour, that is what is the lifeline of their business, just like it is our business at Advocates. We look at hours too. So helping them put processes in place to where they can really master and track hours, very carefully, and help them say, like, you need to update your time daily. That's a very simple thing. We always don't think about that, but if you go from Monday to Thursday and say, okay, now I got to put my time in on Friday for the entire week, it's probably not going to be very accurate. So we're going into CPA firms and saying, hey, well, we need to put processes in place and controls in place to make sure all of your employees are putting in their time accurately and on a daily basis, because that allows you to see exactly where you are during the week, when it comes to billing, when it comes to work in process, when it comes to project budgets and project process. So A lot of it is around data quality, data governance, especially with processes. But then, where the technical side really comes in is we provide them a platform really to access all that information in a way that's easy for them
So
and that they can make decisions off of it.
you're helping them like really maximize output, right? I'm thinking about it from a
Absolutely.
manufacturing standpoint, but essentially, as you put it, right, they're limited by the number of hours that their human resource, their human asset is able to put out, and so you're helping them, through business intelligence, maximize that output. Is that am I on
Absolutely.
track? Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely on track. So when you think of metrics in any professional services firm, and especially CPAs, you're talking about realization and utilization. And so those are the two numbers that really drive profitability in those organizations. So we want to make sure they're getting, that data, at the right time, the right place, so they can make the right decision. So that means they're using the data to drive growth in their firm, and it's not just hours, but we're looking at, well, how do they manage work in process? How do they manage WIP? Are they billing it out every month? Are they aging it? Making sure they take care of that time they have spent and make sure it gets on the right invoice, to the client. But also even one step further, making sure they collect money. So how they look at aging, on hours they bill, do they look at it by partner? They look at it by project, look at it by client. That way they can again put those resources in the right place at the right time. To maintain and drive profitability, but also to maintain and drive their cash flow as well.
Which is important. Lifeblood of any business, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you don't have cash flow, you're in trouble. So so you talk about. I mean, we're going through this and talking about the, maximizing output, maximizing cash flow. Give me some success stories. There has to be, right? I mean, I'm sure that there's, some accounting firms or CPAs that you've started working with and when you talk about a direct, return on investment,
Yes.
that's got to be pretty well black and white, right? I mean, you're talking about a data driven business in the first place, so I would love to hear about some success stories with some
Yeah, I
folks.
mean, we've got several firms we're working with, and a lot of times, and a lot of these engagements came from our interaction with BDO and their roundtables and the conference, and as we talked to them, they really liked the platform we have. They like the reporting. We show them the dashboard and Power BI. They're like, wow, I need this. I want this. But then when we start digging into their processes and their data governance, we tend to find, that there's a lot of challenges there with that. And so with one firm in particular, we've been able to, with what we start as a discovery engagement. So we go into the firm and look at their data, look at what they're doing in their professional services automation system, and just see how are you tracking time? How are you recording projects? How, what kind of work roles do you have defined? Do you have budgets? So really, that discovery engagement not only informs us about, well, are they a good fit for this platform, but also informs them as to some problem areas or hot spots maybe they need to focus on. And there's some things we can do technically through the ETL process as we translate the data to correct that. Some of it we can't. Some we go back to them and say, hey, here's some processes we need to talk about. For example, time entry. I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but we've had one firm is like, well, we don't record time daily. Well, why not? Well, we just never thought of it that way. We never thought that was important. And we say, well, here's why it's important. So not only showing the importance of that, but actually introducing a new process through and a new way to capture time, but even going as far to help them implement that process. So now as they go forward, we're training their staff, we're helping them write processes and policies, and even setting up their system to where they can actually record time and actually report on it. So huge impact with that firm is just, not just on the reporting side yet, and we're getting there, but just consulting with them, advising them, using a lot of the best practices we've learned at BMSS and putting in place at these other firms because they've hit a ceiling. They can't grow. And we're like, well, what do we need to grow a firm? And a lot of it comes down to their processes and how they've implemented them. But even behind that is like their data, so they can make the data and right decisions to grow. So we've had a lot of success with firms like that, showing them that information. And really, as we approach what we call success season, but tax season coming up, the busy time of the year for the CPA firms, we're
Mm-hmm.
we're really hoping to make a big impact in that as they are now not able to look at what they did from January 1st to deadline day and March 15th. but they're able to look almost daily or weekly to see exactly how the firm is tracking. Are they on task? Are they hitting their budgets? Did they have enough hours and capacity? But really, putting all this information together in through one lens for everybody to help them, gauge their progress throughout this very important time of the year for them. But also they can, again, come back to maintain utilization, make sure the realization where it needs to be, but also making sure WIP's getting billed out and make sure they're collecting cash. So, just impacting that entire cycle. And we're in different phases with CPA firms that we've got engaged. But those are the ways we're impacting them. It's processes, making sure their data is right, but then also ultimately giving them reports, dashboards, and tools to ensure that they can make decisions quicker and more accurately than they could in the past.
And I think the important thing you touched on that, Brian, is that that you guys are bringing a lot of the best practices, right? From you work with so many different CPA firms, and you see those same challenges and, more importantly, opportunities that new prospects, new clients
Mm-hmm.
can take advantage of. Right? The fact that you've kind of been there, done that, seen it with respect to their specific, industry.
Yeah, one thing unique about our BI team is we have several CPAs on that team. So it's just not a bunch of dev guys that know Power BI, because we do have those resources, but having some CPAs, having those that have worked with accounting firms in the past, even we have one that's been a controller of an accounting firm, so they've seen it firsthand what works and what doesn't work. We also do work for our parent company, so that gives us a lot of insight. As I would consider them a leading edge type company when it comes to technology and how they're using data, and that really helps us go out to other firms, both larger and smaller, and help them put the same best practices in place and how they manage their people, they manage their time, and manage their financial situation.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this in terms of, Brian, some of the trends. Obviously, AI is a big one, right?
Yep.
But and it can be that it's obviously one of the biggest trends, that businesses and firms should be aware of. I guess if I throw it out to you and say, what are some coming trends? I can say, aside from AI, or let's just treat them as two different things, as AI and what else you might see. But maybe you can just wrap it all up in one kind of answer.
Yeah, I think I would say really there's really three things I see, and it's more of a cycle. I see, uh, you know, one reason we're seeing more demand in business intelligence because clients and companies are learning they just have more data. They have a lot of data. That data has value, and it's important at their firm, and they can use it to make better decisions. The other thing that you have to think about is, everybody's having trouble hiring people. The labor shortage is not going away. At least everything that I've seen through all my peer groups, we're still having trouble hiring people. So automation is going to be a big part of that. And one way that you implement automation is that you have to have good data. So if you can take a process, a mundane process, something you do every day, say for example, I'll use accounts receivable as a great example. Typically you have a person that manages accounts receivable. They sit there and look at an aging report. They call on people to remind them they need to pay their bill. Well, what if you could automate that process? What if instead you had an automation that basically looked at your AR aging as of today, and then as soon as that client bill reaches a threshold, it fires off an email to them and tells them, hey, this invoice is outstanding. Wanted to make sure you got it. Here's the PDF copy of it. Oh yeah, you want to make a payment, maybe you forgot. Here's a link where you can log on and just pay it automatically. So how many steps of that process now become automated and really don't require a person to do that? So I think that's another trend we're seeing is how can we automate processes? How can we take people out of their day-to-day stuff and put them at their highest and best use, and take away some of this routine, everyday grind that they probably don't enjoy doing anyway. But we know technology can take the place of that. So automation, I think, is going to be a big part, and I think that leads into the use of artificial intelligence. If you look at business use of AI, if you're going to use AI, you got to have a lot of data, and it's got to be really good data, to drive that model, and it's got to be a continuous stream of data as well for that model to be successful and for it to learn off of. So what's the next step beyond that? We've got, you know, typical processes that have very defined steps that we can build algorithms around, like AR. But hey, what if we built an AI model around that that looked at trends and payment trends, and okay, and can look at a payment stream or payment activity and maybe predict that, hey, this client is going to be a collection issue. You know, we need to stay on a little bit harder. Maybe it can assign a risk factor. I mean, that's the kind of value AI can bring to the table. We may not know that, but it can look at that data and it can advise us and maybe give us a decision point that said, hey, you know, this company is always late. You know, maybe some other factors we fit in there, but it can help us make a decision about how we collect the money from that client, when we collect the money for it. So I really see that progression taking place. And I think that's a trend we're going to see as we see, hey, more clients want data, they want automation, but those things are going to actually drive them to use AI, I think, in their own businesses.
Why do you think I've read a number of things, as you probably have as well, in terms of the types of industries that will be the most impacted by AI or LLM, large learning models, machine learning, and accounting is always up there at the top. Why? You know, obviously you are swimming in those waters. Why do you think? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that that is one of the industries targeted that says yes, AI is going to make a dramatic impact on the accounting industry?
I think there's two things, and I'm sure there's many more that I'm not thinking of. I think some of it is routine. I know there are just a lot of things that accountants do that's very routine, especially when you get down to the journal entries, the debits, and the credits. Those are pretty easy to automate. We've already seen a lot of automation, especially in client advisory or client accounting services. So where we used to have an employee sit there and code out invoices. Oh, this is Mills Entertainment. This is the power bill. Well, now you can introduce an algorithm with some artificial intelligence, and as that bill is electronically received, it can actually scan it, recognize who the vendor is, recognize the amount, and put the entire invoice in for you, and then automate the coding of it. So we're seeing some things happen like that that are very important, and and of course relieve a person actually doing those duties. We're also seeing it more or less in when you think about write-ups and some of the, I would guess, compliance language you got to put in certain engagement letters or reports. Large language models can help us write that. We've all used ChatGPT in our own way to help us get started on things and make those things really easy to do. I think that's one thing we're seeing in accounting as well. I think for us, looking at as we look at this at start to provide SOC services and risk advisory services, I've demoed one particular piece of software that was really amazing because I put in the client defines the control. I type in what the control does, and then now I've got an AI tool set or an AI assistant that says, hey, this is how you could word this better, or maybe this is how, hey, how can I make this control better? And it'll actually give me an answer. So I think as we look at things like tax law and case law and all those things, as those things start getting fed into AI as well on the tax side of accounting, I think that's another place you're going to see. I don't think it's going to replace CPAs. I just don't think it can. But I think it's going to become a huge resource for them to use, in their everyday journey, where they're doing tax returns, audit compliance, SOC reviews. It's going to be a great tool for them to use. It ain't going to replace them, but I
Yeah.
think it's actually going to help them face this labor crisis
Yep.
that they've got coming up right now.
Yep. The people side of things is so big, and it's actually probably one of the biggest growth challenges that faces a lot of different firms across multiple industries, but specifically in the high value human asset service
Hmm.
types of businesses, right? Because they can't grow without good people that have good IP.
That's right.
Um, what do you mentioned some of the other growth areas of your business? This is probably going to be a two-part question because I want to get a better understanding of maybe some of the challenges you face. But I mean, you're growing some of the other sides of your business. You're growing in other industries as well. Tell us a little bit about some of the different services that you guys are expanding into, as well as some of the other industries. I know you mentioned manufacturing is one of them, but maybe talk a little bit about those.
Yeah, I think, when it comes to manufacturing, a lot of that has to do with systems integration, just helping clients, help systems talk to each other, integrate processes, make things more efficient for them. So Our BI team does a lot on the CPA industry. We help write reports. We also have done a lot of CPA, a lot of integration for different types of industries. It could be manufacturing. We've helped a client who engineering firm, tie in a couple of platforms via APIs. So we have all these great platforms we can subscribe to in the cloud. The problem is they don't talk to each other. Monday.com doesn't talk to necessarily Outlook, and Outlook may not talk to Trello. And we have all these platforms we love in the cloud, but it wouldn't be great if they talk to each other and integrated a lot more than what they do. So we have found the use of APIs to connect some of these cloud platforms to be extremely successful for a lot of companies who have adopted them, but want more use out of them and also want to use the data into them. So APIs have been a real big success for us. I think one manufacturing firm, they're using Monday.com for scheduling. They're using it in a lot of different ways, but it didn't integrate with their ERP system. So, we're able to go in there, access the APIs, pull down information that normally would have to be double entered into the accounting system and actually integrate it into the accounting system, saving time, making it more accurate, again, creating a better data equation for that client. So that's one of the better ways we've been able to help, especially manufacturing and some other corporate clients, is start tapping into these cloud resources using APIs. That allows us to introduce automation, allows us to introduce more advanced reporting, and hopefully one day, I could see us using APIs and all these other systems within any organization to drive some type of AI model as well to help with decisions.
Yeah, and I think some of that is just over the last several years, the rapid growth of so many different SaaS products that have come along,
Mm-hmm.
and you may be on an ERP or using a CRM. You mentioned Monday.com, right? But then all of a sudden something else comes along right out of the box that you can integrate so quickly in your business, and it's like, great, let's just stack that on top of it, right? And so now you have multiple. It's interesting. I had someone not too it was probably a few months ago that said, because I have another business that's B2B. It's largely aimed at contractors and builders, and they said to me, how many pieces of SaaS software do you think you have in your business? Because I said we implemented an ERP system that I helped drive that project. And he said, how many, is SaaS software? I said, I don't know. Let me go look at my, spreadsheet with my logins. And it turned out I had 12 different SaaS. And we're just that business is a $7 million, not a huge one, right? That we had 12 pieces of, SaaS software running. And to your point, what you're talking about is being able to develop those APIs that can get everything kind of talking to each other, because it's
Mm-hmm.
like, we have that exact same, issue. It's like, hey, how do we tie this great bolt-on SaaS software into our ERP that we now have, because we don't want to get rid of it. That does really, really well with that specific service that we're offering. But how do we get them talking to each other? And I have to imagine that many businesses are just the same, or have done the same with, I don't want to call it Band-Aids, but sometimes it's Band-Aid sassing or SaaS Band-Aids, and some of it's just duct tape and WD-40, right? Like I probably did. But,
Well, I mean, I think during the pandemic, we saw the favoritism toward on-premise applications go away. And when we all went home, we had to sort of find a way to do things, and we were challenged by that situation. We saw a lot of people that were, well, I always had a file share. I had the D drive or the E drive that I always got my data from. Well, now we can't access that very clearly, so we put it in something like OneDrive, or we put it in Dropbox, or we put it in ShareFile. So you see this, what I think was an explosion of a lot of these SaaS products and platforms, because, hey, we learned, hey, we can access them from anywhere, and they're really cool and they're really useful, and we're sort of forced into it. We saw a lot of hesitation from our clients to adopt cloud technologies, but now it's like everyone wants to go to the cloud, and that's the conversation we have first with them, and that's from anything from phone systems to using SharePoint and OneDrive and other platforms as well. And now they're getting to a point where we've adopted them. They've become a big part of the organization. But now, how can we use them better? We need to integrate them. I'm tired of exporting stuff out, importing stuff in, doing double entry, and that's where the APIs become important. And that's where one of our teams is, our BI team has been able to start accessing, all parts of Office 365, Monday.com. I think of a lot of different, SaaS platforms that are out there. They're actually starting to access those via API to really pull them together and consolidate information either for integration or for reporting.
Yeah, and that doesn't look to be going away anytime soon, right? I mean,
No,
that's you
no,
talk about a
I think it's
built-in
only going to get more.
yeah, you talk about a built-in wind at your sales type of thing, for growth. That's got to be a good one. And I know that you guys have grown quite a bit, right? And look to grow. I don't know what your targets are for 2024, but I guarantee
Yep,
you, it's you've got some high lofty goals. Knowing you, what are some of the growth initiatives that you have? What are some of the challenges that you face in your organization? We talked about the people side of things. I assume that's probably a part of it too, but maybe
it
talk
is.
a little bit about some of the things that you see in terms of that could be part of the challenges that we entrepreneurs always face in trying to reach those goals.
Yeah, I mean, growth is one of those things that has to be managed. And I'm very want to be very intentional about clients that we bring into Abacus and that we start working with. We have a very sort of strict guidelines on what clients we're willing to accept. Everybody needs technology, everybody needs technology help, but they're not always a good fit for us. So I'm very clear with clients when, hey, they're interviewing me, I'm interviewing them just as well. And if they're not a good fit, they're not a good fit, and that's okay. I mean, I'd rather find out in the beginning that you're not a good fit. So we're trying to be very intentional about how we manage growth. I mean, we see healthy growth for Abacus, between 18 to 25% annually,
That's great.
depending on opportunities that we have. I do see some challenges with hiring good people and making sure that we get the right people in the right seat that fit our culture. I think that's extremely important for us, and we've got and put a very, I would say, very good people process in place. When it comes to interviews, when it comes to recruiting, we know what we're looking for, and we use predictive index to look at their personalities and character. So we put a lot of tools and wrap it on tools and processes around our hiring, just to make sure we get the right people, in our organization. Because we know if we're going to grow, we got to have the right person in the right seat, doing the right things, with the right character. But that is a big piece of our growth. How do we overcome that? We're trying to find some ways we can put automation in our own business.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a good job of. I really commend our managed services team. One of the biggest questions I get asked every time I'm before a prospect is like, "Hey, how do you onboard a new employee?" And onboarding is important. I mean, statistically, if that employee has a good onboarding experience, they're 30% more likely to stay with you more than 2 years.
Wow.
And when you look at the situation with the labor force, hey, that's important.
Yeah.
And so, hey, we found a way to automate computer setups for a client. We've got a platform that we can go in and we set it up for a client, and it's very simple. The challenge past that too is remote workers. Well, how do I onboard someone who works from home? They don't have an office, and this platform works for them as well. So, you know, we've got to continually innovate ourselves and make sure we're taking advantage of all the technologies before us. We can never just sit there and say, okay, what we have works, and we got to make sure we find new ways to serve our clients, make their experience with us better than anyone else's, and make sure we keep them engaged with Abacus. We're just now started. We read a book, "Never Lose Another Customer," I think is the name of it. So now we are, really starting to really focus on the client experience, where the point of sale is not the height of the customer experience. Because you
Agree.
think about the emotions that go through. Oh, I signed on with a new technology provider; they're going to solve all my problems. And then you think, well, the emotional experience from that point goes, is it supposed to go downhill? No, we want it to go up. We don't want that to be the emotional peak. So we're putting, all types of systems and processes and meetings and things in place to where, hey, that client continues to hear from us, receive input from us, receive feedback from us throughout the entire client journey, not just to the point they sign that proposal. So not just getting new clients is important, but maintaining those relationships going forward is extremely important as well.
And you're a service business, right? And we
Right.
just talked about how important the people side is, both from the client standpoint, and client retention standpoint, as well as the employee and employee retention standpoint. And it's amazing to me how many people overlook those areas,
Hmm.
right? And that's why I love our conversations in terms of the leadership side of things, of understanding the importance of people in organizations, both from your client standpoint and your internal employees, and understanding how important it is to have that onboarding experience, both from a client onboarding and from an employee onboarding
Yeah.
standpoint, right? I mean, we talk about the different parts of automation. I think even before the conversation, before you went on this podcast, we were telling you about, my co-founders geeking out over the fact the next 2 weeks they get to spend, working on the client portals that we have for onboarding our own clients, right? But
Yeah.
it's so critical and so important, but it all comes back to the people side, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I truly believe that, you know, there's a lot of, I think we have a lot of great, employee people who want to work. And I think we have some very talented people out there. I think of especially the generations kind of, I'm a Gen X, but you look at, I've got two daughters that are Zoomers. They're so good with technology. I mean, they've grown up with it. Unlike me, I sort of migrated to technology. I got my first email address when I was in college. But they're very technical in how they approach things, which I think is just amazing. And you've got to get them engaged and get them onboarded and make sure that experience meets their expectations. So we're very keen on that. We gotta see, like, what is the person we're hiring, what's important to them. But I think in the end, I mean, it comes back to the culture organization. What type of culture do you have? And I truly believe that all the good people are going to end up all the good companies, and then there's going to be everything else.
I totally
And,
agree.
and I think that's the way it's going to end up. And so we spend a lot of time really thinking about our culture, making sure that we give good feedback to our employees and our team members. Every quarter, we just started a new program last year for that, making sure we hire good people. We don't want to bring someone on the team that's not a good fit. And I'll tell you, I don't hire necessarily on technical fit. I mean, we have passed over a lot of good technicians here at Abacus to hire people that have customer service focus and experience. So I can teach you technology. That's pretty easy, actually. There are thousands of ways I can teach you technology, but I necessarily can't teach you good customer service skills. So
Mm-hmm.
when we interview someone, I mean, we're really gauging them their customer service skills, not so much their technology. I mean, you can have as many certifications as you want, but we're a service-based organization. If you can't talk to a customer in a way they can understand you, and you can't give them a great experience, then you're not much use to me. I don't care how many networks you can build or how well you know Active Directory or virtualization, but if you can't communicate to a client, it's going to be really hard for you to be successful at our company. In fact, I'd say two or three of our best technicians had no IT background when they joined us. We taught them technology, but they're just great with people, and I think that's one thing that has helped us be successful, and also led to that's the way we hire people. And some people are shocked at us being a technology company. I'm like, no, we hire on customer service first, and I teach them technology.
And I fully subscribe. I think that's why you and I get along so well. I fully subscribe to that. Just the people do business with people, and it's said,
Yeah,
as kind of a off the cuff that people kind of say that, but it's true. It really is true, right? And having, as you do, an understanding of the culture that you're trying to maintain, especially which becomes more difficult as you grow. But understanding the importance of the people that you bring into your organization that are going to interface with your clients, and that's it. People, doing business with other people, and that's how you're going to grow. And I think safeguarding the culture of your company is probably one of the most important things you can do in terms of managing growth and managing your business.
yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I mean, but as you grow, it gets harder to manage, and it gets really harder
100%.
to put in place because when you think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, the founder sets the culture. As they start the business, as they grow the business, they set the culture, but then they have to bring up people underneath them that they have to transfer that culture to, and they have to hire based on their own culture that's been successful for them. And that's often hard to do. I mean, you look at as we build out our organization, we have to build out leaders, that believe in our culture and that want to make it and want to spread that culture to throughout the organization, not just at, my level, the executive level, or even, at the director level, but, all the way down to the person we just hired, to the intern, making sure they understand the importance of that culture. And that can be really difficult to do and really challenging. And it's something that, I see as one of my biggest responsibilities in my role is to make sure that, we do have a good culture, and that culture is getting uh, communicated and spread throughout the organization like it should. And I try to embody that culture as much as I can, when I'm, with our teammates, with the wonderful people we have that work at Abacus.
What do you enjoy most about what you do? Whether it's related to the business side, whether it's related to technology, like what it like like we can have these conversations, right, in business stuff, and but like what is it that wakes you up in the morning and goes, hey, I'm going to charge through the door and go do it, right? Like what is it that you get thrill out
Well, I mean, I've always been at my heart a problem solver. I like to solve problems, and that's just something I've always been really good at, and it's something that But how I solve the problem and what the problem is has changed so much throughout my career.
of? Yeah.
I'm not, early it was solving financial problems, then solving technical problems. But now, I really enjoy helping, our teammates solve problems. I love helping them be successful. And that's what I want to do. And whether that's you're getting them access to training, whether it's just answering the phone when they call me. I mean, all the folks at Abacus have my cell phone number, and I have no problem with giving them my time to help them or answer whatever questions they have. I do, make myself accessible to them. I even changed my office and how it was set up. Most of the time you walk in the office, you're sitting behind this big desk, right? And it's a barrier between you and that person
Yep.
walking in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I don't like this. So I moved my desk to the side that when they walk in, I'm right there for them. And they have easy access to them. My door is going to be open for them to come see me. So, I think what gets me every day, I love making our team successful and finding ways to help them out. And sometimes it's direct, like, hey, I need to make a decision, or maybe I know something, or maybe I've learned something I need to translate to them. But even it was just the other day, we had one of our young and up and coming technicians. He came to my office and said, I'm really having this problem. It was a technical problem. I was like, oh, I can help you with that. I do know some technical stuff. But it was just good helping him out, and it really, I guess gave me some satisfaction. He saw me as a resource to help him solve this problem. So I mean, I just love getting up and working with our team, seeing them succeed. And I feel like that's what my main responsibility is to help our team be successful as much as I can. I feel like that's the best way I can help grow our company.
I think if I was to put one or have one label for successful leaders, whether it's in business or in life, I would say that the first thing that should come out of their mouth is "I love problem solving." Like that's it. That is
Yeah.
essentially what even being an entrepreneur or being a leader of an organization is, because it's and you never know what kind of problem. It could be a problem. It could be a client problem. It could be an internal problem. Just you're always looking to solve, because there's always going to be a next one. There will always be a next
Oh yeah.
constraint, a next issue, a next challenge, a next everything, right?
Right.
And if it's not your thing, I can tell you right now, you do not want to be, a leader of a business for sure, because that's all it is.
If you like being comfortable and like the same thing every day, you don't need to be in a leadership role, because that's one thing that I've learned. Every day's new. Some days are challenging, some days are absolutely great days that are wonderful. But you take the good with the bad and you keep moving forward, and you learn from your mistakes, and you help your team learn, and then and you stand at the line with them, and sometimes you stand with them, sometimes you stand in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important to remember as a leader is, hey, your job is really make them successful.
Yeah.
And that's the way I see my role with our team.
Yeah. I love your outlook. Obviously, you know that. So let's do this. I could talk to you for hours, but I know no one's going to stay with us for hours here. But tell us about. You had mentioned earlier in our conversation something about. I think you said a discovery engagement, and I kind
Hmm.
of is wondering can you walk us through the path of what a new client may take with you guys? I know it probably is different from existing clients that probably re-engage you, but maybe talk us through the path of what a new client would expect to see, both from a discovery engagement and or even an onboarding process.
Yeah, I mean, we have different all types of engagements when we start out for a client, but our sales process is pretty much the same. When you look at what we do, we are definitely interested in learning a lot about our organization. I think one of the most important questions we ask when we start any engagement is, what does success look like to you? Asking the client, what is their viewpoint? I can sit down there all day long and tell them about Abacus. I can tell them what we do, our products, our services, and that's great. I'm sure they want to hear it, and I can throw a PowerPoint slide out. But at the end of the day, we solve technology problems, but I need to know, if we're solving a problem for you, what does success look like on the end? And that's how we start our engagements out, is understanding what success looks like, and letting the client tell us basically how to serve them. And a lot of times when we see the problem they're having, what success looks like, then we can come in and apply whatever service we need. It could be a technology service, it could be one of our professional services. It may not even mean someone that we do. And I tell our clients all the time, I say, look, we're in the business of solving problems. If we can't solve it, then we know somebody who can. So, we've also spent a lot of time building a network of other partners we have around us that can do all kinds of amazing things that we can't do, because we know what we're good at, but we can't be a jack of all trades. So we focus in just 2 or 3 core areas. So it really starts out with understanding their success and us finding the best way to solve a problem for them. And from that point on, it's really just, making sure and checking in on them throughout the engagement, the sales process, that we're meeting their needs. And at the end, we want to make sure that we met, their definition of success. For a BI engagement, if you look at what we talked about, business intelligence and how we approach that discovery process. I mean, from the point that they say, yeah, we understand that our data could be more valuable to us, and we want it to do this, this, and this. That's their success statement. We got to write that down. We got to make sure that as we come out of that we know we're going to achieve that goal. And I'm not going to bore with all the technical side of that, but I mean, it comes into a kickoff call, to make sure you're on the same page with the client from the very beginning. Hey, this is what we expect to do. This is a problem we're solving. Has anything changed? Making sure we keep that communication in play with the client. I've always spoken about to our team about response and communication. It doesn't matter the technical solution, that we put in place. It doesn't matter how quick we resolve it. If we don't respond and communicate to the client, we're not going to be successful. So I think we focus on that through every engagement from the beginning to the end. That, hey, we're responding to their needs. We're communicating what we're doing, where we're at, and what next steps are. And we do that with our business intelligence, with those discovery engagements. Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at, how you're storing your data. What are some things you can improve on there? How you're, the data governance, as far as, how you're entering your data. Do you have the right fields? And then, even if we come outside of that engagement, that discovery engagement for a BI engagement, and, maybe they're just not ready for us. Hey, at least they're going to have a roadmap. We're going to give them a deliverable where at the end of the day, they're going to have a roadmap and said, okay, well, you're not ready for a full-blown Power BI dashboard implementation. You've got some work to do. Here's the roadmap. And that way they come out with something that has value to them, something that I think will bridge the gap to get them where they need to go. And I think the same thing is true when we look at cybersecurity and how we engage clients with our assessments. We want to come in and our goal is, we're not trying to find what you've done wrong or what's been wrong, and we do a lot of assessments with internal IT people, and we try to tell them we're here as a resource. We want to help you. We want to help you get better. And I think one thing I love about those assessments is a lot of times we get into that assessment and we see these gaps that need to be filled. But a lot of times we want to be very risk-based in how we approach that, because we want to be mindful of, hey, cybersecurity products and services are not cheap. They're very expensive. Even now, they're often not affordable to small businesses. So we try to take a risk-based approach and let them configure what they have. So again, I think a lot of it just having that client in mind throughout the engagement, is what we try to do, whether it's, how they measure success, how we can meet the needs for that success, whether it's responding, whether it's communicating, and ultimately at the end, giving something they can take away, that's going to be of value to them, and not necessarily trying to sell them more, but saying, hey, here's your roadmap. Here's some things you need to think about, but here's some things you need to think about immediately. And I love going, especially in the security engagements. It's like, you've got all the tools. You just need to configure them. You don't have to buy all these SaaS, platforms and SIMs and all these different things. If you just configure this, you're going to minimize your risk by 80%. So I think just having that client focus through the engagement is what's important, and that's what makes us successful at the end of the
I think
day.
I finally figured out why you and I get along. So our entire approach is completely the same. Although we are obviously focused on the sales and marketing side, helping IT firms, and you guys are obviously on the services side of providing, CPA accounting firms and different manufacturing firms, right? But our approach
Oh
is
yeah,
exactly the same, and it's not rocket science. I always tell people the same thing. Like, it's not rocket science. We're going to come in and try and figure out how to figure out to get you from where you are today to where you want to go. Like, it's that simple. And
hmm
look at what resources you have and try and put it together and get it going, oars in the right direction. And, unfortunately, I don't have from my magic sales marketing box something I pull out and put on your desk the same way,
that's
Brian,
right,
that you don't either. Right. But
right.
the other thing that I just thought of too is just being that trusted solution provider. And I know that's
That's
kind of a
correct.
fancy name, but it really is meaningful, right? Because the fact that they know that they can trust to go to you, right, for the best advice for their business, not necessarily for your
That's right.
business, but for their business. And when you have that, when you become that trusted advisor for, a client, to where they understand Brian really is looking out for my best interest here. He's not just trying to sell me the next thing from his box or the next engagement for his crew, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that's just so important.
Well, I think that comes this beginning of the conversation with the client. We're here to solve problems for you. And that could be some consulting. It could be a technology solution. It may not be. And we want to understand what success looks like, because if you don't understand, hey, what's driving that conversation, then you're not going to be able to provide a solution at the end of the day. They may not want, this big bag technology outsourced solution. They may need just something simple. And I think that's very important, and that's what we want to be. I mean, we're a technology solutions provider. We want to be the trusted advisor, for our clients for anything they need in technology, and I feel like we're achieving that goal. As I just look at people who reach out to me and, hey, I'm facing this challenge, and sometimes it's not even technological. Sometimes it's, hey, this person's leaving the company. How do we transition this, especially in if it has to do with technology? Maybe it's some other areas. And I know that when I have those clients reach out to me for that kind of stuff, then I know I'm serving them in the way that I should be. We're bringing them peace of mind. We've got their trust. They see us as an advisor, not as a vendor, and that's what we want. We want to partner with them.
Well, and partner you well. So what's a good way for them to reach out to you? I mean, I'm sure if the business owner or executive is watching this, I'm sure probably by now they're like, get to the point. Give me the contact information for Brian and Abacus so I can get a hold of these guys. I'm joking, right? But where can people learn more about you guys? Obviously, you have a website, I'm sure, Twitter, LinkedIn. Tell us where folks
Yeah,
can
I
learn
mean,
more
we
about you
definitely
guys.
got a website's pretty easy. Abacustechnologies.com. That'll pretty much give you, a rundown of who Abacus is and what we're about. A very nice website. We just redid it not too long ago. I think for me, I mean, my email address is bjackson@abacustechnologies.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I love collaborating with other members in this industry and others as well. I'm in a Visage group, really enjoy being in that group and talking with them. And I've talked with a lot of other, folks that through these peer groups that just need help with things. They just have questions. And, I think that's something I love doing is, hey, we found success in something and I want to help you find success too. But also, I also learn a lot from those conversations as well. And I think that's important that, for us to be successful, I think we got to have those relationships. We got to have those partnerships, and sometimes that means, hey, talking to, maybe it's a competitor, maybe they're the same thing we do, maybe they're in a different area, but I love talking with peers and understanding what they're doing, how they're doing, and really just collaborating with them. So I really encourage anyone just to, hey, look me up on LinkedIn. It's the best place to find me probably, and just send me a message if you're interested in talking, or if you got some questions about how we do things, or what we've done at Abacus and to bring success, or just need someone to lean on at some point in time, just for some technical information as well.
Well, I greatly appreciate your time. You know that, but I'm going to tell you again. I love our conversation. I I just do. I could go on for hours. I think probably because you and I think so alike and have a lot of the same, methodologies and approach to both our businesses, our cultures, our people, and it's amazing. But I am so grateful for your time, and I'm grateful you came onto the Grow IT podcast. And I am going to ask you to come back another time. I know
I
you
would love
probably. I
to.
would love to have you back. I just love these
Would love to.
conversations. But thank you very much, Brian, and we'll look forward to catching you on the next time.
All right. Thank you so much, Terrence. Enjoyed it.
All right, thank you.